"This isn't your call," snapped David Penn, CFO, his voice rising over the stunned silence of the boardroom. But Tiana Mercer didn't blink. She stood at the head of the table, both hands resting on the polished glass, a single document held between her fingers. Behind her, the projector blinked to life. 5 words lit the screen. $28 million deal, frozen. Gasps. Someone swore. A board member dropped their pen. "According to Clause 12.6b," she said calmly, "I have the authority to freeze all financial operations tied to material ethics violations." "This is sabotage," Penn barked. "No," Tiana said, locking eyes with him. "This is accountability, something this company's allergic to." She placed the signed freeze order in front of him, the ink still fresh. Across the table, the CEO leaned forward, pale. "You went through the audit committee?" "I did," she replied. "And they saw what I saw." Click. The slide changed. Shell invoices. Internal transfers. Dates that match private meetings. "This is fraud," she said. "This is your deal." Penn pushed back from the table, furious. "You were never supposed to touch this." Tiana finally smiled. "You all assumed I couldn't read the rules." She paused. "I memorized every single one." Before she ever touched a freeze order, Tiana Mercer spent 18 months being the smartest person in rooms that ignored her. Fresh out of a top-tier MBA program, dual certified in forensic accounting and corporate ethics, she expected challenge, not condescension. At Lorne & Vellum, challenge came disguised as passive exclusion. During her first month, she flagged a $190,000 vendor payout discrepancy. She wasn't thanked. Her manager, Owen Driscoll, reworded her report and presented it as his own. Afterward, he clapped her on the back. "Good instincts, Mercer. Just polish your tone." Sounded a little eager. That word, eager, stuck like a tag stitched in her blazer. Over time, so did others. Bright, passionate, green, words that sounded like praise, but meant, not ready, not serious, not one of us. Tiana didn't push back, not out loud. She just took the notes, smiled in elevators, and kept her own notes. Privately, obsessively, not just numbers. Names, quotes, dates. Like the time she asked a VP about an audit trail inconsistency and was told, "You're not dumb, Tiana, but finance is about instinct, not spreadsheets." Or the off-site dinner, when someone from compliance asked if she was shadowing the finance guys to find a husband. She laughed it off, then saved the entire email thread. The next day, 3 calendar invites disappeared from her schedule. Clerical error, they said, but they never came back. So she made her own spreadsheet, not for revenue, but for pattern. Who got promoted? Who got silenced? Who stayed silent to rise faster? What she noticed was chilling. The people who climbed weren't the ones who raised flags. They were the ones who looked away, especially executives like David Penn. The kind of man who justified a disappearing $200,000 disbursement with a joke and a shrug. "Big boys play big stakes," he once said, brushing off a 5-figure consulting dinner. Tiana flagged it. She was told, "Stop nitpicking." Her next project was reassigned. Her inbox, quieter. Her conviction, louder. Because every insult, every smirk behind closed doors. She recorded it. She filed it. They thought she was unfit for finance. What they didn't know was that she was already inside their system, watching, calculating, waiting. And when the numbers finally told a story no one could deny, she'd speak a language they couldn't dismiss. Compliance violations, canceled transactions, and silence they couldn't talk over. It started late, past 11 p.m. on a Thursday. The 12th floor lights flickered. The cleaning crew was gone. The office was silent. Tiana Mercer sat alone, hunched over a decades-old database. Most employees didn't know it existed. Most never looked there. She lived there. She was chasing a thread. Budget shifts, split contracts, quarter-hopping payments. Small anomalies, but too consistent to ignore. Then she found it. A buried PDF labeled Emergency Governance Addendum, 2011. The file was tagged obsolete. The language? Tight, legal, intentional, and in the middle of it, Clause 12.6b. In the event of an internal ethical breach, involving financial assets exceeding $10 million. A certified ethics officer may, with audit support and documentation, execute a temporary financial freeze. Tiana blinked, then read it again and again. It hadn't been used. It wasn't removed. It was active. The clause was a loaded weapon, dormant, buried, still live. And she was the only person on payroll certified to use it. The next morning, she showed it to her manager, Aileen. Aileen barely skimmed it, then closed the tab and shrugged. "We don't use that clause," she said. "It's just legal filler. Symbolic." But symbolic clauses don't require 3 levels of sign-off and an external audit team. Tiana didn't argue. She didn't push. She just nodded and printed 4 copies. She highlighted it, annotated it, filed it in her own encrypted archive. Then she checked the company risk charter. Still active, still binding, still unclaimed. Her heart thudded once, not in panic but in precision, because this wasn't just a loophole. It was a door they never thought someone like her would find. A door only she had the key for. But she didn't pull the trigger. Not yet. To use the clause, she needed proof. Not friction, not suspicion. Proof. And just days later, they handed it to her. Signed, sealed, fast-tracked, and it reeked of family. The $28 million deal was buried under jargon. Lorne Global Phase 3 integration. On paper, it looked routine. A vendor expansion into Southeast Asia. But one name didn't sit right. Halden Streamline Group. Tiana ran it through procurement. No public bids. No RFPs. No vendor history. Just a wireframe invoice promising transportation consulting and efficiency optimization. She dug deeper. State registry? Halden Streamline had been incorporated only 9 months ago. Founder? Thomas Penn, David Penn's younger brother. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't just shady. It was structured. A soft shell siphon, draped in corporate speed. Then she checked the sign-offs. 3 executives, including David, had already greenlit the funds. No committee review. No audit trail. No CEO involvement. And it was moving fast. Suspiciously fast. The payout was scheduled for Friday. It was Monday. Tiana scoured her calendar. No meetings. No reviews. No briefings. They were burying it, hiding it in plain sight. She submitted a quiet memo. Flag high risk. No names. Not yet. Just one sentence. Potential conflict of interest in high-value vendor contract. Recommend immediate delay pending compliance review. Then came the silence. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, still nothing. Day 3, HR called her in. Not legal. Not compliance. HR. The directors smiled too wide. You've been working hard, they said. Maybe too hard. They recommended role realignment. Suggested she might be misinterpreting strategic directives. Offered time off. When she returned to her desk, her access was downgraded. Read only. No exports. No alerts. Must have been a system glitch, someone muttered, smiling like it wasn't personal. But they were too late. Tiana had already printed everything. Contracts, emails, vendor logs, and a recording. A Zoom call. A junior accountant said, "We're fast-tracking Phase 3, so Penn's brother can cash out before the fiscal review." Her hands trembled. Her mind didn't. She logged out, secured the folder, filed a formal request to activate Clause 12.6b. It bypassed David, bypassed HR, bypassed every closed-door corridor, and landed directly in the inbox of the third-party audit team. She had 1 week before the transfer hit, but they didn't know that. Because they didn't even know she was watching. Tiana knew better than a strike early. Early got you labeled difficult, disloyal, disposable. So she waited, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Her Clause 12.6b activation went straight to the external compliance firm. No execs involved. No firewall to block her. Within 48 hours, she had confirmation. The audit committee had reviewed her evidence. Attached was a temporary grant of authority. She now had legal clearance to freeze any account tied to financial misconduct. It wasn't permanent, but it was enough. She said nothing. No announcement. No warning. She let the leadership team coast. approving travel, planning happy hour, smirking in elevators about the over-eager spreadsheet girl. Well, they didn't know. She'd already locked them out. $28 million, frozen, buried behind a 16-digit passcode, known only to her and the auditors. David Penn's office buzzed with energy that Friday morning. He paced the carpet, phone in hand, reassuring the vendor. Wire will clear by noon. Don't sweat it. His assistant frowned. Sir, it failed. He waved her off. Try again. She did. Access denied. Again. Access denied. At 9:59 a.m., David's phone pinged. Calendar invite. 10 a.m. Audit briefing, boardroom, initiated by T. Mercer. He stormed down the hall, two allies flanking him like bodyguards. He burst into the boardroom and saw her, waiting, clipboard in hand, USB on the table. Calm. You can't, he snapped. Tiana cut him off. Clause 12.6b is active. You've lost control of the pipeline. She slid a letter across the table, signed by the auditors. They confirmed material risk. You never disclosed the relationship. Behind her, the projector came alive. One slide, then another, and another. Vendor incorporation date, family connection, wire transfer prep, signature trails, a photo of Penn and his brother at a golf resort. 2 months before the vendor even existed. Tiana didn't raise her voice. She didn't gloat. She just narrated. Penn didn't yell. He didn't speak. His jaw clenched so tight, it creaked. When the final slide faded, she looked him in the eye. I didn't come here to impress you. I came here to stop you. And that's exactly what she did. The fallout wasn't explosive. It was surgical. One email from a board. One suspension. One erased name from the directory. David Penn was locked out by 9 a.m. His nameplate? Gone by Tuesday. The $28 million deal? Voided. Vendor contract shredded. Funds untouched. A 43-page compliance report confirmed what everyone suspected. But no one had dared say. Fraud. Nepotism. Cover-up. But it wasn't flagged by leadership. Not the CEO. Not the CFO. Not the ethics committee. It was flagged by the over-attached spreadsheet girl. Tiana didn't celebrate. Now they were watching her, too. Just not for fraud. Some whispered leak. Others muttered ambition. But none of them got it. She didn't want their chairs. She wanted their excuses. Gone. At the follow-up briefing with the board's ethics chair, Tiana laid out everything. Flag by flag. Timestamp by timestamp. When asked why she hadn't escalated sooner, she answered, because you wouldn't have believed me. Without the receipts. The chair didn't argue. She just made a note. That week, a Slack message circulated. She read the rules, then rewrote the ending. 2 more execs left quietly. No press. No goodbye donuts. A new ethics training protocol launched, co-authored by Tiana. And now, the silence had flipped. People who once avoided her in elevators were demanding her. Thanks for speaking up. I should have done what you did. Can I shadow your next audit? An intern asked her to mentor them. She said yes, but only if they promised one thing. Never accept. That's just how it works. Her office didn't get bigger. Her title didn't change. But her influence? Unmistakable. Approval chains were double-checked now. Compliance meetings? Full. The HR escalation protocol? Rewritten. And one morning, a new invite landed in her inbox. Leadership Strategy Summit, advisory seat. Not at the bottom. At the top. It wasn't an apology, but it was the start of something better. It came in a manila envelope. No confetti. No all-staff email chain. No 30 congrats replies. Just a memo, signed by the board chair. 2 bold words at the top. Appointment confirmed. Tiana Mercer, head of risk strategy. Effective immediately. Not CEO, not a crown, but real power. She didn't inherit the mess. She became the firewall to prevent it. The same boardroom that once rerouted her emails, now waited for her sign-off. The same execs who once joked about vendor scrutiny, now had to run every proposal through her department before it saw a single dollar. On her first day in a new role, she arrived early, not to impress, to walk. She passed her old desk, paused, slid a folded note into the drawer. Take notes. Keep receipts. Trust your gut. Then she climbed the stairs. One floor at a time. No shortcuts. When she reached the executive suite, no one stopped her. No one redirected her. No one smirked. Just open doors. Her new desk, facing the skyline. Her badge, reprinted. Her nameplate, engraved. And beside the monitor, a small plaque. Access granted. She didn't demand respect. She outlasted their excuses until they ran out of reasons not to give it. At her first strategy meeting, a former critic leaned in and muttered, "We're lucky you caught that problem." Tiana met his eyes. "Calm. You're lucky I stayed quiet long enough to build my case. No edge, just memory." That week at her first all-staff, she opened with one question. "How many of you have ever been told you're too inexperienced to ask hard questions?" Almost every hand went up. She nodded. "Then you're exactly where you should be." Her leadership wasn't loud. It was receipt-backed, policy-driven, quietly forceful. Within a month, 2 department heads resigned. Voluntarily. They saw the audits coming. No one had to push them. The new standard pushed them out. And just like that, the woman they once dismissed as too green, she was now the one holding the filter. She kept the freeze order, framed it, not to gloat, to remember, because power isn't about who signs the checks. It's about who understands the fine print behind the signature. And in that fine print, she'd written one name, Tiana Mercer.